Oh, say, can you see that it's time for another Q&A? Welcome to Kit Katastrophe. My name is Kit, and today we'll be taking a look at all of your questions that you gave me in the month of June. I set out just a couple rules, only 3 questions per person maximum, and that's basically it. Let's start with the questions in no particular order. Darkshot22 asks, 1. When are you starting work at Femboy Hooters? Well, you see, my state is still kind of under lockdown, so I don't really feel safe working at a restaurant, so after the coronavirus, comes and leaves, then I'll probably fill out an application. 2. Would you be opposed to a collab with TJ Omega? Yes. 3. What's your favorite Nostalgia Critic episode? This is probably cheating, but I really liked the episode where he and the Angry Video Game Nerd kind of switched roles that one time, and he reviewed the Bebe's Kids video game. It was pretty funny. Polybotomus, the Polybotomus, asks, when are you making an OnlyFans? How do you know I haven't already made one? Mr. Fedora Film asks, what is the name of the music that you use in You Transformers Figure Review intro? I don't particularly know what you mean, but I have used quite a lot of different songs throughout my YouTube career. If you mean the one that appears in the sort of advertisement part, that's the Decepticon theme song from the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen video game. Indenticule Cancer asks, 1. Are you a virgin? No, not since I met your mom. I said, not since I met your mom. I said... Afzal Artwork asks, 1. Favorite to least Transformers movies? My favorite would be Dark of the Moon, and then it would go 2007, Revenge of the Fallen, The Last Night, and Age of Extinction at the very bottom. Though Bumblebee, if you count that, would be, at the top. I still like Dark of the Moon better than Bumblebee, but Bumblebee is definitely the better film. 2. Favorite Transformers Studio Series figures? Off-Road Bumblebee. Hands down, easily the best Studio Series figure by far. It's just fun, it's simple, it's just great. 3. Favorite Transformers designs from Michael Bay Transformers movies and the Bumblebee movie? Well, from the Michael Bay Transformers films, I really like the Optimus design. I really like Jazz. I really like a lot of the Revenge of the Fallen designs, like the Constructicons. I really like Scavenger and Demolisher, how they're just made of wheels. It's pretty cool. Alex Lemons asks, 1. Have you considered reviewing the Beast Wars comics IDW put out? No, I haven't considered reviewing them, and I've only read The Gathering. I haven't read The Ascending or whatever it's called, so I don't really feel comfortable reviewing them on my channel. I'm not really a comics person anyway. 2. Who's your favorite member of the Scavengers? Again, I don't read the comics, so I'm just going by looks alone, and that's Misfire. He's just the coolest looking. Or Croc. Croc is pretty cool. I like Croc. His Titans Return figure ain't so bad. I should review it someday. 3. Do you think Transformers Animated should be continued as direct-to-DVD movies a la Futurama? I'm gonna go with no. I'm not too interested in seeing the animated story continue. I think it ended pretty well. I don't have the same level of hype on Animated as many other people do. Then again, I haven't really watched any of the shows in years. The last one I completed was Prime. Runestone asks, 1. Which World War aircraft would you like to be made into a Transformer? That's a tough one. I'd like to see an Enola Gay Transformer, just so that we have a Transformer who canonically murdered hundreds of thousands of civilians. I'd like to see some Spitfires, maybe a Messerschmitt or 2, a Mitsubishi Zero, a bunch of fighter planes. 2. Which Cybertron character do you think needs a new figure in Generations? Oh, that's tough. Probably Overhaul or Leo Breaker. It's the same character, but both of his figures are kind of bad. I mean, Overhaul's really fun, and I don't have Leo Breaker. I just hear he sucks. But I guess their figures didn't really age too well. I'd like a new Override. one that has a more advanced transformation. Though I think they would probably ruin the alternate mode, because the alternate mode on Cybertron Override, oh my god. 3. Will we ever see a Shattered Glass / Mirror Universe kit? Well, it costs money to make these drawings, and I don't feel like spending $25 more just for a joke, so no. Mr. Chestnut asks, 1. How you be my man? No, I will not be your man. 2. Why do you think so many people like Transformers? Because they're just fun, and robots are cool, and robots that turn into cars and shit are also cool. 3. Do you own any third-party figures? Yes, and I've actually reviewed one of them, and I'm reviewing another pretty shortly. They're both kinda shit, though. I do also own 2/6 of the TFC Hercules set, and I have one of the Mastermind Creations Hearts of Steel Seekers. So yes, I do own some third-party, but it's mostly retail in this house. Cybernetic Geek asks, what is your most underrated and overrated Transformers figure? I can't really think of too much off the top of my head, but for underrated, I think Power of the Prime Swoop is pretty underrated. I mean, people give Power of the Primes a really bad rap, and for good reason, because a lot of those figures were shit. But Swoop is easily the strongest figure in the line that I have so far, and he's just a really, really fun figure. I cannot wait to review this guy, you know, after I get Snarl and complete the Dinobots. But that's neither here nor there. Overrated, Spinister. Spinister is the most overrated figure in my collection. He is nowhere near as good as everyone makes him out to be. He's just okay. Mav Station asks, 1. How does it feel to be a manlet? You're like 2 inches taller than me. Don't start this. 2. If Flame War used the ERRC mold and it was on sale like 90% off, would you buy the goodness? Yes. Goodness? Goodness? Earthrise RC? Goodness? Fuck you. 3. Favorite figure from Siege since it's finally done and over with? Favorite figure from Siege would have to be Blue Streak, just because Blue Streak is one of my favorite Autobots, and his mold is pretty good. Hound is also up there. Hound is also a pretty good figure. Stop Motion Reviewer asks, I am trying to expand my collection past the G1 design scheme figures, but I feel like the majority of the Studio Series line have deluxe figures that I feel like the transformation on them are both claustrophobic and hollow at the same time. Am I just too impatient to enjoy them, or am I onto something? You're kind of onto something. I can see where the complaint's coming from. As for me, I've spent more of my time collecting going back to previous lines than waiting for the hot new shit lately. So I feel like if you want to expand your collection past just G1, maybe you should take a look at the Unicron trilogy for starters, because it's a really good series of lines, and it's not quite G1. It has a lot of really hidden gems in those 3 lines, and I think that any collector would have a good time with those lines. 2. What do you think of Transformers Cyberverse? I feel like it has some interesting ideas that I genuinely like, but they limit it way too much by making it for babies, and the really bad voice acting for the most part. I only watched like 9 episodes of Cyberverse before I kind of clocked out of it. I didn't really like what I saw. It was too oversimplified. It was too derivative. I just didn't really like it. 3. Do you think the War for Cybertron trilogy will be any good? I am cautiously enthusiastic, but also not expecting a whole lot. No. The Absolute Degenerate asks, what are your thoughts on Albanians? Ugh. Figure in your collection that you found the most disappointing when you got it? Studio Series Shockwave. Studio Series Shockwave was just a really big disappointment. I thought he would be okay going into it, but once I got him out of the box and he fell over no matter how much I filled with him, I knew it was going to be a rough time, and the transformation and vehicle mode are just not up to snuff. He is not a good figure, and I will be reviewing him pretty shortly. 3. Will the random Chimp events ever end? Not if you keep bringing them up. Illinaguy34 asks, Least favorite aspect of a Transformer. For example, shell forming, gimmicks, etc. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Faux parts. Faux parts are one of my biggest pet peeves on a transforming figure. Though sometimes I do excuse them, most of the time I think they're just really lazy and uninspired, and I really wish they would have just given the transformation another pass to make sure that those parts are what they're supposed to be. Kyle Studios 0824 asks, if you were to reboot the Transformers movies, what is your ideal vision for it? Basically, I'd piggyback off of the ideas that Bumblebee laid down. Of course, that would mean it would pander a lot to G1, but it still has a lot of room for innovation and new characters and stuff, so it's not exactly a lost cause in my opinion. Doot asks, will you rank all of the old figures reviewed with the Galactic System in an update video? Probably not. I don't really feel like going through my backlog of 100 non-ranked reviews. Arkham Knight Rider asks, what is the best or your favorite movie you have ever seen, and what is the worst movie you have ever seen? I have a lot of guilty pleasures. I like Transformers 3. I like Speed Racer. I like Tron Legacy. Those are all films that did not do very well with the critics that I really enjoy. There is one movie that I really love that's escaping my mind right now, and I don't know what it is, but I'll probably remember while I'm editing, and if so, I'll edit the poster in or something, or just leave a comment remembering what it is. The worst movie I've ever seen. That's a tough one. I don't really watch too many movies that I consider shit, or at least I don't really watch them and remember them after the fact. What else do you collect besides Transformers? I have a small Bionicle collection. I have a small Kamen Rider SH Figure Arts collection, and by collection I just mean 3 figures. Oh, I count that as a collection. I also like to collect books, I guess. Does that count as a collection? I'm very particular with my genres, though. I'm usually an alternate history kind of person, or nonfiction. I have a lot of nonfiction books, too. Yeah, I don't collect too much besides Transformers. Transformers are the main thing. Why do you hate Sophie Turner? It's because you simp for her all the fucking time. I know you've stopped recently, but you will not live that down. Jason Star Prime asks, hey Kit, is there any War for Cybertron trilogy characters do you hope Hasbro can make? What do you mean by that? Do you mean like the Netflix line? In which case, no, because I'm not buying any of the Netflix figures, and no amount of convincing will, convince me otherwise. If you're asking me what figures or characters I'd like to see in the War for Cybertron trilogy, I remember yesterday I was talking to my friends and saying it would have been cool if we got like 2 Voyager Dinobots in each line, like 2 in Siege, 2 in Earthrise, and like a deluxe swoop, or maybe a Voyager swoop in the last line. That would have been cool. I'd like to see more late G1 guys, like we had Spinister and Rotorstorm lately. I'd like to see some more Diaclone homages, though that means more repaints, and at the same time I don't want like 16 versions of the Sideswipe mold. I'd like to see some more Unicron trilogy shit, because even though Galaxy Upgrade Optimus wasn't a good figure whatsoever, Hotshot was, and I'd like to see more of that. Do you hope we could get a Transformers Prime Anniversary toy line? I know Animated has not done that, but do you hope Prime could happen? No, the Prime toys were fine enough. I'm okay with the Prime toys. And what Transformers character do you hate in the franchise? I don't really hate any character. Like, there's no character that I can think of that, like, I can't stand. Dr. Lockdown asks 2 questions. You're given the option to start a brand new Masterpiece line alongside the current G1, Beast Wars, and Movieverse. What do you choose? Well, the only logical answer to that would be the Unicron trilogy, I guess, because pretty much every other continuity has their own masterpiece. What is the maximum amount of times you've listened to Our Worlds Are in Danger on repeat? I don't really listen to the monologue too much, but I really like the music, and sometimes I listen to it 48 hours a day. Dr. Lockdown also asked a third question, which I didn't see earlier. He asked, since Hasbro confirmed they were giving every on-screen character a Studio Series toy eventually, what is your most hyped unannounced Studio Series figure? Yes, DevCon counts. Crankcase. They haven't made a figure for Crankcase yet. They haven't. And I want a figure of Crankcase. He was such a cool design. You know? I just wish they'd make a Crankcase figure. But I guess we'll never get a Studio Series Crankcase, now will we? Finally, we get to GoobCube, who asks, what are your tips for a starting YouTuber? Okay, one tip would be make sure you have a good area to film. Another tip would be don't expect to be really successful right away. It does take a long time. I've been at this for a year and a half, and I'm only at 330 subscribers, so it does take a while. Always try to look for ways you can improve or iterate upon what you've done before. I remember in his top 10 tips for reviewers video, TJ Omega said the moment you're happy with what you make is the moment you don't get any better. Which is kind of ironic considering his content, but I still think it holds true. If you're constantly looking for ways to get better, you will get better. And as you get better, more people will just naturally like your content. So I guess just always look on ways to improve. What do you think of the Earthrise Leader Optimus Prime figure? That's all from me. Love your content and see you around. I don't have that figure. It looks good, but I don't have it. I have Siege, and that's good enough for me right now, and I don't feel like paying $50 for the Earthrise Optimus Prime, because I don't really want that figure. It's like, I want the figure itself, but I want it for Voyager price without the trailer, and that's not happening, so I'm just not buying it. Anyway, that's a wrap on the Q&A. Thank you all for sending me your questions, and it was really fun. I hope to do this at some point in the future. Maybe for 500 subs, I'll do a third Q&A. So, that's about it. This has been Kick Catastrophe. Transform and roll out.